I just had to pick up my brother from the hospital who was diagnosed with diverticulitis. So I taped your program. I'm sorry I didn't hear the whole thing if you touched on it. So I have a question around that. Of course, they gave him blanket antibiotics.
Of course.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he was in there for 4 days. And also I want to know if you take patients near Long Island, and I will definitely get your new book.
Thank you. Well, Sandy, your brother was lucky that you were able to go pick him up. I didn't talk much about diverticulitis, but I'm going to give you a quick, 60-second. And I'll tell you, if you go to either Gutbliss or go to digestivecenterforwellness.com and look under health topics, and you'll see diverticulosis. And I have a very comprehensive explanation of the difference between diverticulosis and diverticulitis. Diverticulosis is the presence of these potholes in the colon, right? And the stool can lodge in there and it can lead to bowel irregularity, et cetera. And diverticulosis develops only for one reason, and that's because we don't have enough fiber in our diet. So our colon has to push really hard to expel the stool, and that leads to these pouches in the colon. More than 50% of Americans over 50 have diverticulosis, and most people aren't even aware of it. But diverticulosis can become inflamed, and that becomes diverticulitis. So diverticulitis is inflammation of the pockets. Now, like a lot of other inflammatory things, we treat with antibiotics out of a misguided sense of how we should be using them. And sometimes there is actual infection, but a lot of times it's just inflammation. When the diverticulosis becomes itis, when it's inflamed, and that can happen because of constipation, it can happen because of taking too much ibuprofen, it can happen for a number of reasons. When that happens, you typically have to go low fiber. You have to do, kind of almost a clear liquid diet. But the best thing for getting diverticulosis under control and preventing diverticulitis once he's resolved is eating a lot of fiber. A tablespoon of psyllium husk in the morning can work wonders. So I want you to go to digestivecenterforwellness.com. You'll notice we are not selling anything on the site. We don't sell any supplements or anything, just information. Go to health topics, go to diverticulosis, and we have all the information you need for what causes it and what he can do to feel better. And I certainly hope he feels better. And that was so nice of you to pick him up.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that, sharing that resource as well, doctor, and for having it. Let's go now to Mary. Welcome, Mary.
Hi, thanks so much. This is very interesting. So it sounds like oats to you are good, which I'm very excited to hear that. And also, I've also heard about chewing your vegetables for a certain amount of time, maybe because of the saliva, if you don't chew them for long enough. Do you have an opinion about how much you're supposed to chew?
Yeah, I do. Digestion really begins in the mouth. Actually, it begins even before we put the food in our mouth. When we smell an aroma, or if we see a food that we like, our salivary enzymes, our salivary glands start to release enzymes. So we think of enzymes like amylase that break down starch as coming from the pancreas, and the majority of amylase comes from the pancreas, but we also have salivary amylase that gets released. So even before the food gets into our mouth, Mary, the salivary glands release amylase to start the digestive process. So ideally, you want to chew well enough so that that food can start to get broken down and worked on by the digestive enzymes. But, fear not, because if you're a fast eater, as I tend to be, and you're eating quickly and not chewing for a long time, as the food gets down into the stomach and the first part of the small intestine, the duodenum, there's also more amylase, lipase, all these different enzymes, pepsin being released. So, ideally you want to eat nice and slowly and chew your food well, but it will get digested even if that doesn't happen all the time. So you're in good shape.
Excellent. Thank you again for that, doctor. And up next, we have Dr. Linda. I am asking you to unmute. Let's see if that works.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Linda. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
All right, so I am 55, African-American female, live in Mississippi. None of these wonderful things you all have been sharing is here. And I have lupus. And so I just really want to cure myself and have a healthy, good quality lifestyle. And I just really don't even know where to begin.
Oh.
And so I just need any guidance or that I can get, or if I can make an appointment and fly up and see you, or you could be my vacation.
That's so sweet of you, Dr. Pendleton. Well, I'll tell you, I actually don't treat lupus because I'm a gastroenterologist, but I can give you some advice. First of all, it's so great that you have decided that you want to heal yourself and you're on this journey. And I want to tell you and other people who are listening, I don't want you to think that conventional drugs are bad and only a food as medicine approach is what you should be doing. There is a role for medication. I am a big advocate for what I call judicious prescribing, meaning let's start with the diet and lifestyle modifications, not just changing your food, thinking about, how much sleep you're getting, thinking about how you're handling stress. Are you getting enough exposure to nature? All the things that we know inform our health. So we start with that. And then you start at the bottom of the pyramid. What's the least toxic medication you can use for your lupus? And then you march up that way, right? We don't stop at the top of the pyramid, like some doctors like to do with the most potent medication. And for some people, all they need is a diet and lifestyle piece, and they're good. Other people may need something, and the disease may change. So your lupus may be really active and you need more potent drugs, and then it may be less active. So I want you to think of an approach that is both, right? So it might be hearing what the conventional doctors have to say about what the drugs are, but at the same time, seeking out a practitioner who is more holistic, who is familiar with lupus. I wish I had a name for you for MS. I have my dear friend Terry Walls, WAHLS. Her first book was a Walls Protocol, and she is an MS sufferer herself, and she's done incredible work with the MS community. I don't know, for thyroid, it's my friend Dr. Viva Ram, who's wonderful, who has a bunch of books. Did Brooke Goldner have lupus? I feel like she did. And I would check, Dr. Pendleton. I'm not positive, but Stephen mentioned Brooke Goldner earlier, and when he said he met, and I told you I met her at the Plant Nutrition Project at a conference in California years ago. And I believe, I'm not 100%, but I believe her story is she had lupus in medical school, I think. So look her up. I know she works virtually with people. And I hope I'm not giving you the wrong name, but look her up and see, and don't feel like it has to be either or, your conventional doctor could be helpful too. I also believe in full transparency. So I always tell people when they come to see me for a second opinion, I always tell them, look, I want you to tell your doctor wherever they are that you came to see me and you're looking at how diet could help with your Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, but you're also open to, I prescribe when need be. I have a white coat and a prescription pad. I try to whip it out as infrequently as possible, but there are patients who come to see me who are really sick sometimes. And I'm like, look, I think you actually need a big gun medication like a biologic to get your disease under control. And then, while you're doing that, let's work on the food as medicine approach. And hopefully we'll be able to get you off this in a year or in 18 months. But I think right now you need something. So it's not either or, it's really just finding the people who are going to support you on your journey to heal yourself. And I know you're going to succeed.